This Volkswagen Atlas just got a huge refresh for 2024, but can it keep up with its rivals? What's up, folks? I'm Dave Undercoffler, editor-in-chief of Autolist.com, a sister company to CarGurus. This generation of Atlas was first introduced back in 2018, and then it got an update in 2021. Now Volkswagen is back with a total refresh for 2024, giving it an entirely new look on the outside, a completely new interior, and a new engine under the hood. But the bones still date back to 2018, so can this keep up with its much newer rivals, like the Mazda CX-90, Honda Pilot, Toyota Highlander, and Kia Telluride? Let's go spend some time with it and find out. But before we do, be sure to like and subscribe to this channel so you can get alerts on all of our future updates. All right, let's start with the exterior. And this front is one of the areas Volkswagen made the biggest updates to the 2024 Atlas. A couple of things to note. This is now a horizontal light bar that runs across the top of the grille. This Volkswagen emblem on our fully loaded tester actually lights up at night. That's kind of a cool feature. And then you've got LED daytime running lights running along there. And then the whole lower bumper, the grille, the headlight design, all of that has been redesigned. I really like the look. I think it's pretty elegant considering this is just a mainstream three-row crossover. Also, we're testing a fully loaded SEL R-Line model. This is the top end of the Atlas lineup. You can see we've got the R badging right there. All in, this fully loaded version you see here is about $54,000, including destination. Moving to the side, our loaded tester has 21-inch alloy wheels. Other trims of the Atlas will get either 18 or 20-inch rims. We've got R-Line badging here, and then this color is Silver Mist Metallic. It's just silver. I don't know why they call it that silly name, but I really like it. It gives a very classy look to this Atlas. Finally, at the back, Volkswagen gave the 2024 Atlas this really thick horizontal light bar. It's not my favorite element of the styling on this 2024 Atlas, but the rest of the exterior really does work. Another thing I want to point out is you've got quad exhaust tips down here at the bottom of the bumper, but they're fake if you look up close. All right, now let's take a look under the hood, and this is another area where Volkswagen made some key changes for 2024. Previously, you could get either a turbocharged four-cylinder or a V6 in the Atlas. Both of those engines are now gone. There's only one choice, and that is a new turbocharged four-cylinder engine. It now makes 269 horsepower and 273 pound-feet of torque. It's hooked up to an 8-speed automatic transmission. Lower-end trims will come standard with front-wheel drive, whereas all-wheel drive is an option. The rest of the lineup, including our tester, comes standard with all-wheel drive. Fuel economy for our model is rated at 19 miles per gallon in the city, 25 on the highway, and 21 overall. And finally, the Atlas is now rated to tow up to 5,000 pounds. So it may sound unusual that Volkswagen ditched the V6 in favor of a Turbo 4, especially for a three-row crossover of this size, but they're not alone. That's something that Toyota and Mazda have both done. But what do you guys think? Is a Turbo 4 enough in this crossover, or do you wish for that V6? Let us know in the comments below. All right, now turning to the interior, and this is probably the area where Volkswagen made the biggest changes to this 2024 Atlas, so there's a lot to cover. First thing you're gonna notice is the traditional shifter is now gone. You now have an electronic shifter. It's actually pretty easy and intuitive to use. You just pull it towards you to put it into drive or sport mode, push it away from you for reverse. Engine start stop is here. It also frees up more space down here. We've got a pair of cup holders, some storage down here, and then a wireless smartphone charging compartment right there. This screen is also all new. This is a 12-inch screen. It has wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto. The screen is pretty good. It's bright and responsive to your touch. The menus are nicely laid out. I also like the wireless Apple CarPlay. But one of my biggest gripes about this Atlas overall also has to do with this. If you're noticing this, there are no buttons. And if you've seen our videos before, you know that that drives me crazy when you've only got touch-sensitive panels. I also don't like how they've integrated the climate control functions into this whole setup, so let me explain. Over here, you've got touch-sensitive panels for the driver temperature and the passenger temperature. In the center is a panel for the volume control. It just drives me nuts that there's no buttons or knobs for that. To get to the fan speed, it's not even on this menu here. You have to go either through this menu here, or there's a button down there that says Klima. It then pulls up the entire climate control onto the screen, and then you would adjust the fan speed here. So that's just a frustrating experience. It's too many steps to do a very simple task. Plus, you've got to take your eyes off the road while you're driving and look at the screen. Just not a great experience overall. And then turning to the instrument panel, that is a new screen. It's a 10.25-inch digital display screen. It's configurable, so it can show you a variety of information, or you can have the navigation map display on that, so that's pretty cool. Another thing I really like, and overall that I'm impressed by on this new Atlas, is that this screen is standard on any trim that you choose. And there's actually a variety of standard features that's pretty impressive. So some of those standard goodies include heated and cooled seats up front, a heated steering wheel, and fake leather seats on all trims. Although, one thing I want to point out, we've got real leather seats on our fully loaded tester. Our loaded tester also has a Harman Kardon audio system, a 360-degree camera, we've got a heads-up display, and finally, a really nice panoramic sunroof. In terms of storage, this is a really useful family vehicle. As I mentioned, you've got cup holders here. Because they switched to an electronic shifter, it then opens up all of this storage space down below. That's pretty handy. We've got storage in here with a USB-C charge port. And another thing that's cool is in the doors, the pockets are really deep. You can put a lot of things in there. All right, let's take a look at second and third row space. But before we do, I want to show you something I think is really cool. Parents, pay attention to this. I can move this second row seat out of the way and get access to the third row without collapsing this seat, which means I can leave a car seat there and get in and out. That's pretty cool. It's actually a pretty rare feature in three-row crossovers, so kudos to Volkswagen for including that on this Atlas. All right, now that we're in the second row, I want to point out, it may not look like it, but the Atlas is actually one of the larger three-row crossovers in the entire segment. So if space is important to you, definitely put the Atlas on your list. Another thing I want to point out, we've got a 7-passenger model, which means we have a bench seat right here. You can get, on most trims, optional captain's chairs, which actually would make this Atlas a 6-seater. But regardless of which option you choose, there's tons of space. And let me show you what I mean. If you've seen our videos before, you know the drill. I put the front seat to where I would have it if I were sitting up there. So basically, I'm sitting behind myself, and I have an absolutely huge amount of room for my legs, my knees. Headroom is great, and that's cool considering we do have a panoramic moonroof. This seat also slides fore and aft. That's nice. Maybe you've got a little kid here in a car seat that you want to have access to very easily, or you want to give the third row extra room. That's pretty handy. Slides very easily. And then we also have a recline feature for a little more comfort. And then our loaded tester has some more goodies. Back here, we've got our own climate control setup with heated seats for both of these outboard seats. We also have a pair of USB-C charge ports down below, plus a 115-volt household outlet. And finally, a nice sunshade for when the little ones are taking a nap. All right, now let's check out third row space. So again, very easy to move these seats out of the way. All right. So this is a lot of space. I'm actually pretty impressed. I've got room for my feet, my knees, my legs. Headroom is a little tight if I sit up really tall, but generally it's pretty doable. Another thing I really like is that the load floor here is very low, and that's a good thing because it means your legs and your knees are actually not too close to your chest. You can sit in sort of a normal position. Some of the Atlas's competitors will have a higher floor, so adults back here are gonna feel more cramped. But overall, this is pretty impressive. You could definitely have 3 rows of adults sitting behind one another, and everybody's gonna have a comfortable seat. My only real disappointment about the seats back here is that the plastics here are really pretty cheap. So they're gonna scratch pretty easily, and it's kind of uncomfortable to rest there, but those are pretty minor gripes considering just how much space I have. Turning to the cargo space, this is another area where the Atlas excels. It's bigger than nearly all of its rivals, and that includes the Hyundai Palisade and Kia Telluride. With these third row seats up, you have almost 21 cubic feet of space back here. That's thanks to a nice low load floor. And then these seats are very easy to fold. I love that they're not power. Those take forever. You just pull this lever and they will fold flat. That gives you almost 55 cubic feet of space, and that is phenomenal for a 3-row crossover. All right, now to driving impressions, and it's a bit of a mixed bag in this Atlas. The things that I like, I'm actually pleasantly surprised by this 4-cylinder engine. I had driven the previous Atlas with the smaller 4-cylinder, and that just wasn't enough. It wasn't cutting it. You really had to step up to the V6 to get meaningful power. But in this new version, this has absolutely enough power to get the job done. 269 horsepower, never really feels underpowered, and this is a pretty big vehicle, so I like that. I also like the way the transmission and the engine work together. It's a very seamless experience, so that's been pretty impressive. The thing I don't like, and this is one of the areas where the Atlas is starting to show its age, is the handling. It's just kind of vague. The steering doesn't have a lot of feel to it. The car just sort of lumbers around the road. A lot of the newer competitors to this Atlas have better handling. They're going to feel tighter on the road. And that includes things like the Mazda CX-90, the Honda Pilot, or the Kia Telluride. But what do you guys think? Is handling important when you're driving a 3-row crossover, or is it just too low on the list of priorities to matter? Let us know in the comments below. So while the handling is vague, it is still a comfortable vehicle. The suspension is nicely tuned. It feels comfortable on both rough roads and smooth roads. I also like the visibility. Some of these newer crossovers, it's getting harder to see out of them. This gives you a really nice view of the road, so that's pretty cool. And then finally, it's very quiet inside this Volkswagen. It feels almost like a luxury experience, so that's been great to take on some longer road trips. In terms of safety, the Atlas is pretty impressive. The IIHS gave it a top safety pick for 2024, and all trims of the Atlas come standard with things like adaptive cruise control, pre-collision alerts and braking, blind spot monitoring, and rear cross traffic alerts. All right, folks, there you have it, our review of the 2024 Volkswagen Atlas. Pros, well, we really like the interior with all of its space and its many seating configurations. We also really like that there are a lot of standard features no matter which trim you choose. And finally, the upgrades that Volkswagen made for 2024 are really well executed. Cons, well, there's that climate control setup in the interior that we just don't love. Plus, the handling is a little too vague and one of the only areas where this Atlas is showing its age. And finally, we don't love the styling at the rear of the Atlas because it just doesn't match the rest of the vehicle. But overall, if you are shopping for a 3-row crossover, we think this Atlas should definitely be on your list. It's got great size, great amenities, and great value. So for listings or reviews of this Volkswagen or anything else you're shopping for, new or used, be sure to check out CarGurus.com. And before you go, like and subscribe to this channel so you can get alerts on all of our future updates. We'll see you out there.